Happy Wednesday, Bears fans. I'm Harrison Graham. You're watching Chicago Bears Now. I've got an updated top 5 list of head coach candidates that I'm most interested in as of now. Listen, this is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Fluid. Things are going to fluctuate. Things are going to change. I'll continue to update this list probably every couple of weeks. We'll have a new batch out, and of course, we'll continue to cover the latest news, rumors, and ideas out there that have been thrown out when it comes to this coaching search. And listen, subscribe to the channel for that reason. We're updating you guys every single day. This was my initial list after Flus got fired. So if you want to kind of compare and contrast where things sit now to then, on that video I did 15 guys. Today I'm just going to Power 5. We're going to go with 5 guys. So hit that subscribe button. Check out our last list and, of course, all of our other content here at Bears Now. All right, let's get into it here. At number 5, I'd say a pretty big riser here. Brian Flores, I can't remember exactly where he was last time, but he wasn't top 5, and I'm not sure he was top 10. I'm just impressed with what he's done with this Vikings defense. You look at just the numbers here, scoring their 4th, rushing their 2nd. You can throw on them some, but their secondary has had a lot of injuries, and even when they're healthy, they don't have great guys back there. I mean, when 35-year-old Stephon Gilmore is your top guy, you're going to have some issues. And when you're taking the ball away as much as they do, and if you're excellent on the key downs, like on 3rd down, and do pretty well in the red zone and limiting touchdowns, you're going to live with that, especially when you have B-level talent, I'd say, overall on that Vikings defense, and they're playing like an A-level unit. I mean, I'd say they're a fringe top 5 defense when you add it all up. I love his aggressive mindset, and I thought he did a good job the second time around on Caleb Williams, because remember the first time, it took a little time to get going, but Caleb torched him. One of his better games, 340, couple of touchdowns. Stat just came out a few minutes ago that on Monday, Caleb went 11 for 11 against the blitz against Flores. That's why I didn't blitz as much. Only 11 blitzes. That's for Flores. That's a pretty low number. So I think he kind of realized, like, I'm going to do more bluff blitzes and make him try to throw into tight windows. And Caleb said after the game, hey, he got me a few times. He definitely confused me. So I think Flores does a good job of kind of mixing and matching his looks and adjusting and obviously maximizing his personnel with guys like Andrew Van Ginkel having career years, Jonathan Grenard having career years. So I'm really impressed with him as a defensive coach. I love his demeanor. Again, though, the one big question is this, because he's been a former head coach. Like, he checks a lot of boxes, but the Tua thing is hard to shake. It really, really is. When Tua is on the record, and look, I wasn't involved in those discussions. I don't know exactly what happened, but when Tua goes on the record and bashes this guy and says, imagine what it would feel like if you were told you suck every single day. Like, is that a healthy environment for Caleb Williams to grow into? Probably not. So has Brian Flores learned from those experiences? Can he keep his tough, no BS kind of mindset, but still, like, be caressing in a way, if that makes sense? Like, you need Caleb to have a healthy environment to grow in. Like, he needs to be coached hard. There's no question about it. Is this the guy that can coach him hard as a head coach, being a defensive guy, but also kind of, have that full belief and trust into him? Because if not, it's still a non-starter, even though I like all the other things around him. But he's moving up my list because a lot of things are saying don't hire him, and that's kind of making me feel like do hire him. He's suing the league. He would rub some people the wrong way. That's kind of intriguing to me. Like, the Bears kind of just go the boring, like, let's just hire this random guy because he's a nice guy. The Matt Eberfluses of the world, the John Fox, he's bounced around. He seems like a nice guy. Like, maybe you don't go with the nice guy, and Flores would definitely fit that mold in my opinion. Are you guys open to hiring Brian Flores? Because I am. Now, again, you got to check that box with the QB thing. Y for yes, in for no. And if you can't, it's obviously a no. But he's growing on me. I like what he brings to the table, and I think his attitude could be infectious in this building. Okay, at number 4, kind of a new name here, at least this high on the list. I'm going to go Liam Coen, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, the numbers are impressive, and I like Baker Mayfield, but it's not like he's a star, and they're 4th in scoring. They're 3rd in total offense, both top 5 in pass and run. I mean, he's turned this Bucky Irving, like 6th-round pick or whatever, into a star at running back. They're excellent in the red zone. They're excellent on 3rd down. Yeah, they've got 20 turnovers, which is 22nd in the league. I almost view that as a positive. Obviously, you don't want to turn the ball over that much, but the fact that they're bottom third in turnovers and they're still like top 5 across the board and like scoring, moving the football, all that stuff, like it kind of tells me, hey, the aggressiveness is paying off. Like we're going to take our shots. We're going to let Baker let it rip and kind of coach that into him. And, he might throw some picks sometimes. He's also going to throw a lot of touchdowns, and we're going to drive down the field consistently. And, they've won a few of these games where he throws a couple of picks. So, and by the way, Tampa's defense is kind of down this year, so they kind of have to be aggressive. And that's kind of recognizing who you are as a football team. Like, we can't play it safe. It's kind of what's driven me crazy the last few weeks. It's like, this defense is not getting it done. Why not just let it rip? Now, some of that can be on the quarterback. Maybe it's the coach approach. I don't know. But I know this. Cohen, Baker, those guys have been aggressive as hell. And it's very fun to watch. The one, excuse me, eventually this cough will go away. Big question I have for Liam Coen is he ready to take the reins of an entire football team? Now, you can ask that question with any first-time head coach, but this guy was coaching at Kentucky, 18 months ago. Like, is he ready to do that? Now, before that, he was with McVay and the Rams. He was their OC. Wasn't calling plays, but had that experience. Went back to Kentucky, called plays. Up with Tampa, calling plays. By the way, the Bears interviewed Cohen to be their OC. They did not go in that direction. That's a shame. Yeah, obviously you'd have to figure that out. But from an offensive standpoint, he runs that McVay type of offense, which I like. And Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams come from a Lincoln Riley coach team. So the fact that he's been able to get this out of Baker, there's similarities there. So he's intriguing. He's definitely someone I would be interested in. All right, at number 3, I'm going to go Joe Brady, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. Listen, obviously Josh Allen is awesome. Obviously having Josh Allen makes life a little bit easier. But that does not mean that Joe Brady hasn't done a hell of a job and hasn't elevated this Bills offense since he's taken over for Ken Dorsey late last season. For one, I think they were 6-1 last year with Brady, and then 11-3 this year. So what? They're 17-4 since he's taken over as the OC. I think something he's done that the prior head coach or OCs didn't do as well is they've gotten real production out of their running backs. James Cook is going to have a 1,000-yard season. Ray Davis has given them a punch as well. It's not all on Josh Allen's plate as a passer and a runner. Certainly, he still does a lot of both of that, obviously. But what he's been able to do also, and maybe this is just Josh Allen growing as a player as well. You don't want to give these coaches or the player too much credit. It's a combination. But his turnover rate is way down. He only has 5 picks this year, whereas for a few years there, he was 15+. And he's still getting the explosiveness out of Allen. Like, it's not like they've neutered Allen. Like, he threw a ball last week where he's scrambling right, and he just decided, I'm just going to launch it 60 yards downfield, and it was caught. Like, he still does that stuff, but he's managed to not turn the ball over as much. So it seems like the risks have been more calculated from Allen. So I really like what Brady has brought to the table there. The big question here, other than, like everybody else who would be a first-time head coach, is Josh Allen kind of masking some potential weaknesses Joe Brady could have? I'm sure he is. I mean, that would only be expected. I don't think if you hired Joe Brady tomorrow, this Bears offense would look exactly as good as the Bills offense, because Caleb Williams isn't Josh Allen, certainly not at this point in his career. So that's certainly something you'd have to account for, but that doesn't mean that he's not worthwhile of being a head coach candidate here. All right, we'll get to my top 2 here in just a moment, but I want to tell you guys first about our sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that can find and cancel any subscriptions that you no longer want. And it sounds like a simple process, but listen, you sign up, use our link to download the app, sync up your bank account, you do all kinds of cool things. But what they do is list out all of your subscriptions, how much those subscriptions cost, how much you're spending on a monthly and annual basis. I promise you'll be shocked at how much you're spending. Most Americans think they're spending like $62 per month on subscriptions. That number is closer to $300. Don't believe me? Get started with Rocket Money. And then if you want to cancel some of those subscriptions, they will help you do that with just clicking a few buttons, following a few steps. So that has been fantastic. I've been able to scale back on my spending thanks to Rocket Money. And I just like the basic parts of the app. Like, I think it's better than my normal banking app, to be honest, just in terms of categorized spending, keeping on top of my credit score, understanding when bills are coming up to understand, okay, this much is going to come out of my account with this auto pay, so making sure I'm staying on budget, all that stuff. It's just very user-friendly, very easy to use, and if you use Rocket Money's full features, you can save up to $740 per year. Think about that. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Get started with Rocket Money today. RocketMoney.com/Bears. Now, link is in the comments and in the description of this video. It's Rocket Money. Check it out. Okay, Mike Vrabel. We'll get to number one in a second. You guys can probably guess who it is. Top two's not changing for now. We kind of know what Vrabel is, right? He was a very good head coach in Tennessee. Elite's probably a strong word, but very good. 3 playoff appearances in 6 years. Made the AFC Championship game 1 year. Was the number 1 overall seed in 2021. And those were both with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, who they seem to get the most out of, but clearly has talent limitations there. Things kind of fell off after that. After Arthur Smith, they couldn't quite get the OC right. So that's potentially a thing with Vrabel. Now, Albert Breer mentioned the other day that maybe you get Josh McDaniels here, which that feels risky, but if it hits, you're going to have him for a while because McDaniels is not going to get a third head coaching job, and he got the most out of Mac Jones this rookie year. Obviously, he helped develop Tom Brady. So, it makes me a little nervous, a potential McDaniels OC. I don't know if he'd actually go in that direction. I'll say this about Vrabel. He feels like the safe option. And look, I'm not even opposed to it. I'm really not, because whatever you've done hasn't worked, and clearly he would bring an alpha mentality into the building with his persona, and he would shake some things up. Would he want a different GM? Would you have to meet that demand? That's certainly a possibility. I think Ryan Poles and all this is completely an X factor. I have no idea how that's going to play out regardless of who the coach is. The question I have is, how far can you go with Vrabel? Like, I think he can get you into the playoff mix most years. Can you be a consistent contender? Now, that's asking a lot, right? There's only a handful of franchises that seem to be a consistent contender year in and year out. So, maybe that's shooting too high. I would like to get to that point, though. So in a division loaded with coaches, loaded with talent, young teams that aren't going anywhere, like, can Vrabel elevate you to at least contend with these teams? I would hope yes, but even if he does, I think it would be a stretch to say you hire Mike Vrabel, you are potentially the team to beat in the NFC North. Like, I don't know if that's true with any coach, but with Vrabel, not an offensive guy. Who's coaching Caleb Williams? I think those are all legitimate questions there. Okay, number 1, Ben Johnson. I'm not pivoting off of this for now. Again, things can change. And I will say this. I was kind of on this thing last week where it's like, Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel. Got to be one of those 2 guys. Then I was like, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, or Joe Brady. It's got to be one of those 3 guys. Like, I've expanded. Like, I'm open to other guys, which is why I'm kind of settled on a top 5 right now. I understand the Lions are loaded, but they just dominate offensively with physicality, with creativity, with different playmakers. I get they have talent everywhere. Offensive line is awesome. Running backs are awesome. They just lost David Montgomery, so I'm curious to see how their run game looks without him, with Jahmyr Gibbs being the primary back, obviously. But there's just no weaknesses, and I think that even though this is a loaded team, even though there's a lot there, it's not like Jared Goff is Josh Allen. He's kind of a statue back there, and hence why they have to get the good offensive line. I understand that, but he has elevated Goff to a place that he never got to with the Rams, and that was a place where he went to a Super Bowl. I mean, he has played like a top, 7 quarterback for 3 full years now. I would say fringe top 5 at times. I mean, he's been very, very good under this coach. Now, again, it's hard to point to who gets what credit, because I don't want to diminish Jared Goff just improving as a player, but I don't want to diminish Ben Johnson just because he has a lot to work with. I'd say with what he has to work with, he's kind of maximizing it, because they're top 3 in basically every category. Obviously, with Johnson, the chatter that's gone around is he alpha enough? Can he lead the entire room, or is he kind of just analytical quarterback guy? I don't know. I think sometimes we overrate some of that stuff, but Shane Waldron's a good example. If you talk to the guy and you don't get a good feeling, that's a red flag. That also concerns me just in general because we saw that quote last week from Ryan Poles in the spring where he said they were blown away by Shane Waldron's communication in the interviews, which I don't see how that's possible. So that's my top 5. That's where I'm at for now. This thing will continue to evolve, I'm sure. Other names can enter the mix. There's a report out there that Cliff Kingsbury is still on the Bears' radar. I'll probably talk that on a video either later today or tomorrow. So keep us locked in. Let us know who's at the top of your list to be the next Bears head coach. You still rolling with Benny J, Mike Vrabel, someone else that I didn't mention, one of my other candidates? Drop a name down in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're plugging out content every single day. Most days we have 2 videos. We go live every Monday and Thursday. We'll be live tomorrow as well, getting you caught up on the latest Chicago Bears news and rumors. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down, and we'll see you soon.